A new warning tonight about the scope of a massive cyber attack.
Already believed to be the largest cyber attack on our government.
America under virtual invasion. That's what Senator Dick Durbin is calling a massive Russian cyber attack on U.S. government agencies.
We're talking millions of requests per second. In February, there was the incident. They went after the U.S. healthcare system, 50 healthcare in one day. In October, the airports, 50 airports in one day. And every day we continue to see now attacks like in India, on the banking system, in Australia, in Germany. We see across Europe on seaports and airports, from Switzerland to Norway to Germany to the UK.
Hey everyone, it's Yaniv Hoffman back with another video, and the increasing reliance on digital systems makes us more vulnerable to cyber threats. Even major institutions like government, enterprises, and financial institutions are now under severe cyber attacks, notably the Web DDoS tsunami. These advanced Layer 7 attacks disrupt operations and change our view on global cybersecurity. And to speak about it in more depth, I'm grateful and actually excited to host one of the most brilliant persons I have ever met and worked with. He's also my boss. An inspiring leader, keen technologist, founder, president, and CEO of Radware. Welcome, Roy.
Thanks a lot, Yaniv. What a long introduction with a lot of good words on me. I will try to get to the recording and show my mother afterwards. Thank you very much. Happy to be here.
So our agenda for today's discussion is decoding the mechanism, delving into the intricacies of how these attacks function. Then we'll speak about assessing the impact, gauging the widespread repercussions on global infrastructure. And we will also explore the circumstances, identifying strategies and solutions to combat these formidable threats. So Roy, let's start, and maybe the right place to begin is to connect the viewers into the context and provide brief introduction to Radware as a company, its solutions and products.
Okay, great. So we started the business over 20 years ago when we started really with load balancing and application acceleration. We did very well. We went public in NASDAQ after 2.5 years. The company was growing. Everything was great. And then one day called me, they were our customer in load balancing, and said that they had an issue and whether we are willing to work on it together with them. We didn't know what it is about. You know, we were load balancing firewall servers. That was our world. But they showed us what today we will call DDoS. Mm-hmm. And based on our work together, we started to develop the first algorithm together with them, which is DOS Shield. It's still in the product even today. And that was our entry into the DDoS and cybersecurity world. And since then, we've continued to advance. We are the largest shareholder in the market for DDoS appliances. We've expanded the line to application firewalling, both API, cloud services, and so on. But that's how we entered that market. And since then, we specialize in this DDoS market.
Thank you, Roy. And the focus today is about new threat of the Web DDoS tsunami. But before that, maybe can you explain what is DDoS, so we could build a baseline and then we'll differentiate it with the Web DDoS.
So DDoS, or even DOS, is a denial of service attack. What does it mean? I'm trying to bring down a service. So it's an attack on the availability of your network or your application or your data center. The way I'm doing that is I'm overwhelming one of the resources or more than one of the resources between the user and the application, so that under this flood, you cannot get service. Legit users cannot get service, like stuck in a huge traffic jam that never ends. Mm-hmm. Now, there's many ways to do a DOS attack, or DDoS. It's a distributed denial of service attack. And that depends on what I'm trying actually to attack. I can, of course, overwhelm it with a lot of data. That's the most common, what we call like network flood. I'm simply sending so much data that the bandwidth is getting blocked or the router cannot process. But there's actually also denial of service with even a single packet that is taking advantage of some kind of vulnerability, and like a direct missile, point to that vulnerability, and that creates a collapse in the firewall or in the database and so on. So there's a wide ways to actually create a DDoS attack. We're going to talk about one of the newer one, and actually one of the more deadliest that we've seen in recent years, but it's really attack on availability. So if you think about security, about confidentiality, integrity, and availability, we're talking about the A in the CIA, attacks on availability.
So if I'm summarizing what you said, the aim of the legacy DDoS attacks is to impact business continuity. It can come as a volumetric attack to saturate the upstream provider lines, or more sophisticated, low and slow, to exhaust the resources of the server to prevent the service.
Absolutely.
So since the onset of the Russia-Ukraine conflict, there has been a noticeable shift in the threat landscape. We are seeing a new wave of DDoS attacks that are not only more sophisticated, but also more complex, frequent, and impactful. These attacks have resulted in significant outage worldwide. US airports have been targeted, as well as government, agencies, major media, transportation in Japan. We saw attacks on NATO. We saw attacks on Taiwan, Australia, New Zealand, and many more. So this phenomenon has been termed the Web DDoS tsunami by the experts at Radware. So, Roy, can you shed some light on this? What makes these attacks unique? How do they differ from the traditional DDoS attacks you mentioned earlier?
Yeah, so as the conflict between Ukraine and Russia started, we were called actually to protect the government of Ukraine. And since the beginning of the war, that's what we've done until today, very successful. As part of that, we're seeing both the Russians and the Ukrainians launching new types of cyber attacks. It's almost like weapons that they were preparing, not utilizing, but only at the D-Day. When the war starts, people are using all their arsenal. That's how it feels. Now, initially what we saw is attacks both on the government of Ukraine, but also on Radware.com, as they know we are protecting the government. We started to see new types of attacks hitting our website, our blog, our website. Now, these attacks on one end were volumetric. There was a lot of traffic, but not super big in the network volume itself, more in the request per second. So many, many requests, as if like many users are coming to your website.
Mm-hmm.
Also, the users were coming from all over the world, like I will expect in Radware.com. By the way, in other attacks that you've mentioned, they're carefully choosing the audience and the source of the audience to match the legit traffic that you have. And the main thing is that all those connections to the websites are today encrypted. They're using high encryption like TLS 1.3. So the traffic from a network perspective is unseen. You don't see what it is, only in the web server, but the web server gets so many requests that it cannot open so many encrypted connections, and even if it can, it cannot process them and then go down. Initially, we thought maybe it's a regular bot attack, a WAF attack, but no, the traffic is legit. There's no continuity to those connections. It's really a massive, like a tsunami, wave of web connections to the business critical application. And that's why we call it Tsunami Web DDoS. We started to see that early on in the war, as they saw that we are blocking well the big waves of attacks, we started to see these more and more. And in recent months, that became, I would say, the most common attack vector in DDoS around the world.
Interesting. So if we are looking on it in a different prisma, as before, we have seen network level attacks, what we call layer 3, layer 4, large magnitude that focus on bandwidth. And now the attacks that you are speaking about, the Web DDoS tsunami, are not bandwidth focused, but targeting the application layer, the URL, the layer 7. And their impact is driven by their ability to generate large amount of requests per second, what we call the RPS, to exhaust the application server.
Absolutely. So a month ago, Microsoft said, and we saw that already from our intelligence reports, that they were attacked by the same groups. Both Azure Portal, LinkedIn, Outlook 365, all went down under this attack. And they mentioned in their write-up, an announcement, they mentioned this attack as a layer 7 DDoS, or what we call Web DDoS, application DDoS. All of that is the same. It's basically telling you that the attack vector is focused at the web application level and not at the network or TCP UDP level. Exactly that.
Okay, so when you look in depth of these specific attacks, what are the unique characteristics or patterns that you see?
This is a great question, because this is also what makes this attack so successful for the hackers and so hard to mitigate for the defense team. So first, as I've mentioned, everything is encrypted. So in order to look, you need first of all the capability at scale to terminate and decrypt, because if you cannot look inside, definitely you cannot look at any characteristic. It looks like completely random. So assuming you have that, which is the first obstacle to do it in layer 7 at scale, we're talking millions of requests per second. It's significantly higher than capacities that we see out there. The second thing that the hackers are doing, they are randomizing the request. As if, for example, they're coming to visit the website from many types of websites, and they're using many types of devices and many OSs. And why do they do all of that? Because they don't want you to find commonality that will actually, you will put in a filter or in a signature to say, if it looks like A and B, block it. So they make it very hard to write a signature. Even if you put an analyst, you research the traffic for 20, 30 minutes, an hour, 2 hours, the randomization is making it extremely difficult to put a filter. So the second point, after this big wave of encrypted traffic, is the randomization they use, similar to legit. And the third thing they're doing, they're morphing the attack. Initially, we saw, a year ago, they were changing the attack every day. Recently, those changes are happening every 5 to 10 minutes. So even if you have a SOC team, and even if you were able to take captures, and even if you were able to write some kind of filters that we can talk about it later, by the time you did all of that, it's history. The attack has already changed. So you're like chasing an attacker that you will never catch.
Right.
And that causes, of course, significant downtime and significant challenges. All
Yes,
this randomization and changes, etc. And that's why you see organizations like Microsoft failing.
So you were talking about the morphing attacks, and immediately I was thinking about the SOC team that if it's not equipped with the right security defense solutions that are based on behavioral analysis and AI, they need to take many steps to identify or to try to deal with these threats, right? They need to capture the traffic, they need to analyze the data, they need to identify the suspicious pattern, they need to create a signature to match it, then they need to test the signature, and the 6 actions they need to deploy it, and then to tune it again to avoid and all of that under attack.
And in the middle, check you don't have false positives. If you start to get false positive, retune it, rewrite it, meaning it's like an iterative process, meaning what you described as the 7 steps is the start. And then you need to make sure there's no false positive. If there is one, you need to redo that step over and over again to minimize it. Basically, doing it the old way is a complete failure. You will not be successful to fight the attack with SOC, analysts, and writing signatures. They're too quick. If today they're changing every 5, 10 minutes, tomorrow they'll change it every 50 seconds. There's no hope in the manual way of doing that. And that's why you see so many failures around the world. Those large enterprises from Microsoft and others that we've seen failing, all of them have very large SOC capabilities. All of them have packet captures, etc. Still, it's a complete failure.
Right, and that's lead me to the next question. Definitely, it's a different level of attack that require a lot of machine learning, AI, automation. So how Radware can help organizations fight it? There are many players in the market. What's the uniqueness of Radware?
So I'm very proud in the work we've done here, because from the get-go, when we approached DDoS, we were algorithmic first. Meaning our belief is that you don't fight cyber with people. You fight cyber with algorithms. You have people on top to supervise, to take care of exceptions, but you don't throw soldiers with M16s into the battlefield. You're using intelligence, you're using the Air Force, you're using a lot of algorithms, you're using missiles, you're using huge amount of weapons that are working in a fully coordinated fashion. And that's what we do. So early on, when we saw that this is a unique problem, we told our algorithmic teams that they need to focus on this attack, and we want a solution. And what we've created is this Web DDoS algorithm. We're basically monitoring over 40 different parameters, and for each one, in real time, we're creating the normal behavior. It's not Yaniv is allowed and Roy is not allowed, but really, what's the probability Yaniv will come and Roy will come? That's on, and where will we come? From Singapore, from Israel, from Australia? Which website would we come from? Is it Google or Bing or something else? What device, what OS, what browser, how many options, how many cookies, and so on and so on and so on. And we're building for all those dimensions a very precise understanding of the probability that a legit users would look like. And then I would not go into the math too deep in this environment, but automatically we are able, for each new connection that comes in, to assign a probability, whether it's a legit one or an attack. We group all those attacks, and we are on the fly, within 10 to 15 seconds, are able to generate 20 or 30 parameters deep filter that classifies only and solely the attack. Now, this algorithm by now, in the last year, has proven itself, hundreds of times in real attack scenario, 0 false positives, 10 to 15 seconds mitigation time, and a great user experience. And today, at least for the best of our knowledge, it's the only way to block these attacks.
Very clear. So encrypted attacks, number one. Number two is randomization to challenge the defenders from finding commonalities. And last but not least, morphing attacks that come very quickly in high RPS and changing the attack vectors very frequently to bypass all the traditional and even sophisticated, I must say, defense systems.
And think about it, they are very smart, these hackers that did, because, the way we are doing in IT, we're segmenting the security problem into departments. There's a DDoS issue. There's a web application firewall issue, we call it WAF. There's an IPS issue, intrusion prevention, and so on. But what they've done, they found a vector that is close to WAF because it's a web application attack, but it's actually part of DDoS. In the connection, everything is legit, so the WAF does not block it, but it's fully encrypted, so the DDoS cannot look on it. So they really found a way, like in between those artificial walls that we build in IT. And that also teaches us that we cannot think like IT or like Gartner or Forrester or IDC segments the market. It is meaningless. The hackers decide how to attack, what to attack. And therefore, we really need a holistic protection system. And I think that's also one of the things we've built here.
So Roy, when it comes to preparation and response, what strategies can organizations adopt to better defend against these type of attacks?
Yeah. So first, I think given the morphing and the fact it's encrypted, etc., you really need to use someone. I don't think people can rely on their own internal resources. Second, I think they should understand the risk. We are publishing every day the list of targets that's being attacked by those groups. And as you mentioned, in February, there was the incident. They went after the US healthcare system, 50 healthcare in one day. In October, the airports, 50 airports in one day. And every day we continue to see now attacks like in India, on the banking system, in Australia, in Germany. We see across Europe on seaports and airports, from Switzerland to Norway to Germany to the UK. This attack, you're one URL away from them deciding to hit you. And the reason can be everything. Your country said they are supporting Ukraine, or they're supporting aid to Ukraine, or they are against a certain anti-Russian policy, for or against, it doesn't matter.
Right.
That today is a good enough reason to attack those systems. So everyone is one URL away. You cannot do it alone, and you need a service. That's the first difference.
Mm-hmm.
Second thing, I think you really need to focus on this new brand of attacks. Just talking about DDoS in terms of TCP and UDP is great. It will not buy you protection for this new attack. So you really need to dive into what are you offering in application DDoS, and specifically in those web DDoS. And what's your ecosystem around it? Do you have intelligence about the targets? Who are they attacking? Do you have intelligence on the tools they're using? Do you have algorithms to provide me with this fast automated detection and response? And do you have the people around it to provide it as a managed service? I think those would be 4 critical elements once you dive in the web DDoS.
I completely concur. And another essential element to consider, in my view, is having a robust incident response plan in place. It's not a matter of if an organization will be attacked, but when. So I think it's crucial to possess a well-defined plan detailing the procedures to follow during the attack. This includes escalating the issue to executive, engaging the legal team, communicating with customers, partners, and the broader market, and of course, coordinating with the expert directly addressing the attacks. By ensuring everyone understands their roles and objectives, the response becomes more efficient and the impact can be effectively managed.
Absolutely. And I personally, as a strategy, believe in automation, meaning I don't want to sit in long, forensic meetings explaining to the regulator why we did not block the attack. I believe that the response should be automated immediately when the incident comes. And that would be the best way for the future also to control, manage, and protect my infrastructure against those attacks to the extent I can. Automation is not 100%, cannot solve 100%.
Right.
But it can solve a lot, and I want it as my first line. Afterwards, I would have my manual incident response, war rooms, etc., analysts, etc. But absolutely, have a plan, put a lot of effort on algorithm automation as first line of response.
So before we summarize, what trends and prediction do you have on the future landscape in regards to the DDoS side and also the application security side, what we call the WAF, the bot, the API?
That's the $1 million or maybe $1 billion question. We are seeing that the market of the threat landscape, and as a result, the attacks, is actually exploding in multiple dimensions. First, the hackers today are enjoying many more attack platforms. If before we were talking only on a botnet, on a network of computers they hire in order to launch an attack, today with public cloud, with IoT, with everything we talk about running applications at the edge cloud, etc., suddenly the hackers have unlimited platforms to launch attacks from.
Yeah.
That's the first problem. And those platforms are real, a computer in AWS, how do I know it's not my business partner that is actually trying to connect? An IoT, a camera from home, how do I know it's not your Wi-Fi connection that you're trying to come to the bank and do something? So it's not only the platform, it's the use of those platforms as part of the legit activity of our business. So that's challenge number one. Challenge number two, like you said, with COVID, everything comes more online. We have more apps. Not only that we have more applications, we have more APIs. Applications talking to applications, machine talking to machine. How would I know which one is real, which one is not? That a hacker is not actually building a program to connect to my application, steal data, do transactions. So the whole notion of API security should be ranked very high. The next point I want to raise is the importance of the browser. We used to run all the application at the server side, and then if we protect before the servers, we are relatively okay. But what happened now with all the applications and the use of other applications and third parties, actually that the content is being generated at the user browser. So they go to my application, but my application is actually sending them to get weather information from here and stock quote information from there and inventory from there and news from there. And if I'm not protecting all these sites, my user will be exposed. And if they're exposed, so when they're working with my application, all the data can be stolen. And so protecting the browser as they go to my applications is another dimension of the evolving threat. So API security, browser protection, and the increase in attack platforms, IoT, public cloud, edge cloud, all these we need to take into account.
So Roy, with that said, I would like to thank you for the insightful discussion and time spent here with me to educate us more about this relay. And for you, the viewers, thank you so much. I hope you have enjoyed this unique discussion. If you loved the video, please press the like button. If you have any comments or questions, please feel free to leave it in the description. And until the next time, thank you.
Thank you very much, Yaniv. And as we say in Radware, we fight for the good guys, you know, so we are ready to fight the war on your behalf, make sure you're protected. And we find it as our both challenge and vision and destiny. So thanks a lot, and we'll be happy to work together. Absolutely, Yaniv, great opportunity to visit this video series. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Roy, and thank you again.